So my name is Alicja Jasina. How did I get into art? Yeah, I think my response would be like so many other people that I would always like draw and paint since I was a kid. I mean, I did a lot of things, so it was hard for me to choose because I like books, I like literature, so it was hard for me like to narrow it down. Uh, but I remember, when I was 18, 19, I was thinking like, okay, I have to like make some decision. And then I was also deciding on my studies. I always had a huge support from my family. I remember my mom always kept repeating to me, like, you have to do what you love. And so that came kind of naturally that I thought, okay, so I'm always attracted to that. I always drew a lot. But the Polish system is more that you draw like nudes, like you are in this real world. And it was hard for me to go beyond that. So then I started my studies, my bachelor studies in UK at Kingston University, near London. And it was really mind-blowing for me there that you can go beyond this reality and you can actually tell stories or express your point of view. So that was like a bit of a breakthrough for me because I feel like I had a technique. I could impress people by really doing a picture of somebody like, very similar to how they are, but I didn't know what to do with it. So that's when, I met a lot of people and I started like being inspired. I think that's the important part, right? The community. And that was the course called Illustration and Animation. So first year we would do more of an illustration. So that's when I started learning about storytelling and all those things. But I didn't know anything about animation then. And I remember like our first class, we did some experiments like with flipbook, like how you can make stuff move. And it was really something new for me. I really liked it. And also like my nature that I'm quite loose and I didn't like spending so much time on one single drawing. That was actually an advantage rather than disadvantage. Right now I'm in a different stage. Now I like painting and I'm going back to my roots, I guess. I love painting and I like now spending more time on one image. But yes, that's, I have been in it for quite a bit. So there were some like changes in my career. I will tell you about that. So that was really for me like interesting. Like you could make this illusion of movement with some drawings. It felt like magic a little. That is pretty recent, actually. Pottery, I got to pottery like 2-3 years ago. And that was, I think, my intent to do something more physical. Because you know how it is in animation, like you're in this digital world and everything is digital and it's just you're in the screen and then your back hurts and your eyes hurt. So yes, I remember like falling asleep like after like hours and hours spent, like I don't remember in After Effects or like in some frame by frame program and like touching my skin and I felt it like digital. Like I thought, what were the layers? Or like, like doing something in life and then trying like Control Z button. And then I was like, life doesn't work this way. So, it can really get into your head. That's actually what my last short film was about, Turbolov, which got released like 2 years ago. It was about like this girl who tries like the computer shortcuts, but in real life. I mean, it then translates or exports into real life. So yes, going back to the ceramics. So I thought like doing, something like physical. I liked this like unpredictable nature of this process and like getting dirty and just, I felt like doing anything outside the screen. And it was very fun. And I remember like once like I was drawing like on paper and I started just doing marks and marks and marks. That's all I could think of. So I thought, okay, I should find like some ceramic workshop and just try to make it real. So yes, it is a nice medium, and I like it when those things intertwine. So when some of the animation motifs or like characters get translated into ceramics, that's when it's satisfying. That like when my voice like gets visible in different mediums. So let's say like I draw, and I did like in this commercial for Swiss Life with hands, a lot of hands. And then like I started doing those mugs that have hands that hug and that just show some emotion. So I like it when you see like those motifs repeat. It's also about like organizing my routine, that sometimes like being all the time at the computer, it can like put me down and make me a bit less productive. So it's good to do something else so that I miss the digital stuff. It's about like this organization. Niche is a hard one, and style too. This is a hard question. Let's start with style. I think like with anything in life, it is not good to try too hard to have it. I think it just comes naturally with time. That's my experience, at least. So I think the more you do things, the more you draw. In my case, you see, even as I go like in between different mediums, it does emerge. As long as I keep this routine and I try to make it like a repetitive activity, then I think naturally there are like some motifs that come out, like let's say these hands or the eyes, or like the way of looking at things, or like the line obsession. You know, I did like 2 or 3 films that had a line in a title, like Once Upon a Line, Out of Line. But it's not just about like the aesthetics, but also like about the way of thinking, about the process, you know, a line like, I remember I read this quote by Paul Klee, a line is a dot that went for a walk. So I liked it. It's like about this playfulness and, you know, like exploring things like in the journey. You're not sure where you're going. I mean, of course, it's great to have goals and, you know, lists, but that's not what I am best at. So I like this exploration stage and this creativity part. So yes. What else? So I think I like it because like if you asked me that like 10 years ago, I would tell you, yeah, I hope once like you will be able to see a drawing and somebody will say, it looks like Alicia. And I think I'm slowly getting there. So I'm happy, you know, it's nice when there are like some artists, like most of the artists that do it long enough, I think like it is kind of recognizable at some point. I don't know if it's the pencil, if it's like how they approach things. But it is a process, and I feel like I'm closer to the beginning than to the end. Again, the process, you know. And so that's that. And then, and the niche is a hard one because, you know, as I told you, I lived in many places, and my friends are from different backgrounds, and I like doing different things. So I think, like, also in my work, I try to be universal. But now I see it's good to narrow things down, and that you can't please everybody. As I think Andy J. Pizza, he has a very cool podcast on creativity. And I think he put it like, you can't have pizza with everything on it. So I like this. Yeah, it's good to narrow down. So I think my niche right now, for sure, it's animation. It is like about like different ways of thinking. I think my way of thinking is unusual. I try to make it more unusual, and my goal is that it shows in my work. So now I'm kind of refining it because I think like everybody has like their different perspectives, and it is nice when it shows. So I would say right now my niche is kind of, yes, like some illustration and some psychology in it and some like how we feel. But, you know, it's not that well defined. I am working on that. And it is also interesting because niche is also about monetizing your work, right? So that's also another question. Like right now, like since I graduated, I think what made me be able to live off that were commercials, but they weren't necessarily always hiring me for like to express myself. So I think in the last years, I promised that I will develop my voice more as an artist. But yeah, I think finding your niche and be paid for that as well. This is all. It is. It is not easy. That's a good question. I think it comes back to doing personal work, because when people see something that you did and it fits what they want, then they will address you. So, for example, after I graduated, I had my graduation film Once Upon a Line that got on Oscar shortlist. And I think that helped me very much because it gave me some exposure and it was in many festivals and a lot of agents saw it. And then I got to be represented by Milana at Nerd and in UK. So that was great because often also the bigger clients don't approach you directly. I mean, I had a few cases like this, maybe with Swiss Life, for example, but that was unusual. I think it's because the collaboration with like some other agency didn't work out. So they like had a ticking clock and they had to do it. But usually there are many layers to that. So I think the representation is also very, very important. Uh, and then like, do I sometimes, I take projects that are a bit less of my style, but I don't necessarily show it in my portfolio because what I show is what I want to be hired for. Of course, it gets also to like how much they pay, right? It's kind of normal. Like if I have to sacrifice, like if there's a great project that's, I'm really passionate about, then, there may be less money if I see like there's some opportunities in it. So I think it really, really does depend. I mean, ideally, I try to take just projects that like hire me for me, but we don't live in in an ideal world, so it depends. It really depends, and then I do some things for free if I really like it. And as you see, like even on my Instagram, I do a lot of self-initiated things because I think this is important. Like just keep producing, and then like keep like refining the style or your voice, as you called it, and then see where it brings you. But I see that often, like the value of our work doesn't translate to money. Sometimes it does, and it's great when it does. But you know how it is. We never know. So right now I'm working on a short film, and that's a good one for your niche question because that's actually it's an animated short film, and it is about a guy who wants to become a rapper. So it is like a bit of a rap animation, a Polish rap scene, actually. It's about the Polish rap scene. So that was kind of my attempt to get more into the niche thing. Also, after me moving back here, I was listening to like Polish rap also because I felt like my Polish was kind of lacking. And I felt like, yeah, I wanted to like meet some people from like who do things here, not only to collaborate with people through Zoom, but to get more real and grounded in here. So we'll see how that will come out. Inspiration behind my work. I look at a lot of art and a lot of illustration, but also life. I think like I lived for more than 10 years abroad, first in UK, then in US. I lived in US for 7 years in Los Angeles. And so, yes, I think in my work you can also see like this multicultural, like I like languages, I like different, I like traveling. And so that's that. But I think that moving back to Poland was a big step for me. Also, like in the context of like finding myself or like going back to my roots, because I loved living in different places, but at the same time, I feel like you get deprived of something or you pay a price. Like I felt like a part of me was left behind. Also talking about niches even, it's hard to find your niche when all the time you're somewhere and, it's like, oh, so like diverse. But then like, yes, but it's always new and it is. So yeah, there are good things and bad things. Anyway, so I think like this going back was my attempt also because I felt like in my work something was lacking. I mean, I had like some satisfying like commercial projects going on, and so on. But I felt like I need to find something what to say, and I feel like I need to like define myself first before like define my work, because I really truly believe that like you can see a part of person in somebody's work, right? So like if somebody's like shabby and chaotic, often the work is like this. So I thought like I need to be like a better or like more defined person in order to like improve my work. And it has been a challenge because, you know, Polish culture, like, yeah, I never lived in Poland since I was like in my adult life. I never lived in Poland. So there are some things like the cultural differences are very big, and sometimes like everyday life, like, you know, people don't smile and they can judge, be judgmental or like put you in the box, and so many things. So like I feel like again I'm learning from scratch to function, but I feel like I'm getting somewhere because there's something like a bit deeper in Polish culture than in US. I mean, it depends. Of course, there are a lot of deep and very fascinating people in US. And I missed Europe. And even if when I was going to like parties in US, I would just be attracted by Europeans. Like I felt like missed like European energy. So I think for me now being back here is like a bit of a, oh, I'm here, I can function, now I can work.